All right, welcome back to the 4th and 31 podcast. I am your host, the Chad Bullock, part of the Killer Bees broadcasting team. Be sure to give us a like and a subscribe. I'm here today with the man, the myth, the legend, and the coach, Bo, and the boss, Scott Wilson. Gentlemen, how's it going today? Scott, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Nice weekend. No stressful games, honestly. It was nice to be able to relax, sit back, and watch everybody else get beat. Enjoyed it. Got no complaints over the weekend. How about yourself, Bo?
Oh, none whatsoever, except for my Jaguars came up literally a foot short this week. Suffered another close loss in a game they battled all the way to the end, and but still, like you, no Bama to worry about. But still a good fun weekend of just watching games, kind of been able to relax.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get in with the SEC recap from Saturday. Like y'all said, no stress from us today because Alabama had the bye week. But we did have, it was kind of an okay weekend, I would say, for SEC football. You had a rivalry game, and we'll start there in Jacksonville with the old world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Georgia literally survived against Florida 24-20. Probably was the beneficiary of a bad call in that second half. Stockton 20 of 29, 223, two touchdowns and interception. Lagway having a kind of a mediocre game, 15 of 24 for 166. Bo, your thoughts on this one?
Well, first off, before we really get into this game, everybody notices the two of you have on the Bama gear, and I'm wearing the Macho Man Randy Savage shirt, and it's because I wanted to start off today by saying that the cream rises to the top. Yeah, this is the time of the year where teams get their dreams shattered and fall by the wayside, but the cream rises to the top. And all those teams that fall by the wayside, they just had a cup of coffee in the big time. Yeah, that's all they get's a cup of coffee. So getting into this game, when you get into rivalry games in college football, I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. Especially when you don't really have a dog in the fight, no pun intended. You just want to watch good college football. Rivalry games always seem to bring out the best, and I disagree with you, Chad. I think that was not a catch. It's kind of hard to tell from the angle, but it looked to me like the ball hit in between the player's arms and hit the grass and popped up. But neither here nor there. But Georgia, yet again, just has that championship pedigree, knows how to win. Gunnar Stockton has really elevated his game this year. And, you see a performance like this. Their offense was kind of stagnant for some of the game. But at the end of the game, when they needed it, they went down and got it and then won the game. So Gunnar Stockton, to me, I mean, his stock, no pun intended, is just rising every week.
Scott?
No, I agree 100% with everything Bo just said. This game kind of went a little bit different than I thought. Going in, you're thinking Georgia's Georgia and Florida is just, dog water right now. But, man, Georgia fought. Georgia put on a fight for against Georgia, and Florida just brought it. And I agree with Bo on that was not a catch. There's enough angles to look. I know it's arguable. Some people say catch. And I feel like we're having a Des Bryant moment right now. But it was not I don't think it was a catch. I think it hit the ground. But again, man, I just can't get over the fact that Florida brought everything they had, man. And I got to give it to them. I give Florida all the respect in the world after that game because they could have just laid down flat. Their season's over, and they didn't do that. They gave Georgia everything they had in that game, so it was good to watch. It was fun to watch. I had a good time watching the game. It was probably one of my favorite games this weekend.
Hey, and Chad, one more thing on that is when you see a team, okay, they're kind of dead in the water. They're, they fired their coach. What are they going to do? Well, when they decide to play, you can see the talent level. I mean, they've got NFL guys at every level on both sides of the football. And when those guys play, these are the things that can happen, you know. And Florida's got them. You know, for whatever reason, it didn't work for Billy Napier. Doesn't mean he's a terrible coach or anything like that. Just didn't work for him there. So, but whoever walks into the Florida job is inheriting a pretty good, providing they stay, is walking into a pretty good nucleus of players.
Yeah. Now, for the record, for that catch, there's no way they could have overturned that to a catch. But I think there was a couple of angles that looked like it was a catch, and then there was an angle that was like to the receiver's left from the backside, and it looked like it hit the ground. So there's no way you could overturn that at that point.
Yeah.
So it was controversial, but in the end they probably got it right. And like I said, you can't really overturn that at that point anyway. All right. So next game we'll recap: Ole Miss at South Carolina. Ole Miss South Carolina at Ole Miss, 30-14. Chambliss, 12-21, 159 and a touchdown. Sellers had a horrible game, 16-30, 180, one touchdown, 2 picks, and that Ole Miss defensive line just destroyed him all game. He ended up having negative 17 yards rushing. Scott, we'll start with you. You there, Scott?
Yep. Sorry. Popped off for a second. Where we at?
Okay. Go ahead, Scott. We'll start with you with this game.
This game is simply put, I mean, South Carolina brought everything they had to Bama, and I think they were hung over. Honestly, do, man. I think, and look, I said this before. Ole Miss is undoubtedly probably the best team in the SEC. Top 3 at least, and that's a big deal. You know, the top 3 teams in the SEC could beat anybody any day of the week, and I put Ole Miss there, and I really truly believe that it was just too much for them to overcome, especially coming off the Bama game. It was a lot for South Carolina to be able to get through, so I kind of put that together that way. I think Ole Miss is just a force to be reckoned with, and I feel sorry for anybody in their way the rest of the season.
Bo?
Yeah, and what I said earlier about the cream rising to the top. This is the part of the season where style points don't matter. The Ole Misses, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Indianas, all these teams that are in the mix, they have enough on their resume right now to get into the college football playoff. All they got to do is keep winning. And style points do not matter at this point. Just win, baby, to quote Al Davis. And I think everybody kind of was really sleeping old Ole Miss this year, because last year everybody had the high expectation for Ole Miss because they beat Georgia and then they stubbed their toe down the road. This year they didn't beat Georgia, but sometimes you can take a loss and it makes you reevaluate things a little bit better, if I'm making sense. So you take a loss while a loss is not good. You say, okay, these are the things we need to work on. We need to get better. Let's improve upon this. And moving forward, they can be a better football team. Ole Miss is as solid a football team as there is. They can run it. They can throw it. They can throw it in a multi-dimensional way. They've got a mobile quarterback. Do not look past the fact that there are, in my opinion, probably 6 or 8 teams that have elite quarterback play, and I expect one of those 6 or 8 to win the national championship. Ole Miss is one of those teams. They're going to be in the mix. If you go back last year, I mean, 3 of the 4 quarterbacks that played in that semifinal were drafted 5th round or later, and then you got Drew Aller, who couldn't complete a pass to a receiver, which is still mind-boggling to me in a college football playoff at that level. In a semifinal game, you cannot complete a pass to a receiver. This year, the teams that are going to get there, I think you're going to see 4 teams that have high-level quarterback play, because elite quarterback play can cover up a multitude of sins. And while I know we're talking about Ole Miss right now, and I think Trinidad Chambliss is as solid as they come across the board. But you take a team like Georgia, maybe they're not as good on defense as they have been, but I think they're better at quarterback they're more explosive on offense. Their offensive line is better. So it seemed like the dynamic of the Georgia team has shifted, as where I kind of think the dynamic of the Ole Miss team has shifted, where I think the defense is able to make a lot of plays now, and the offense does what it needs to do to win football games.
Yeah, and shout out to Lacey for Ole Miss, the running back, 24 for 167. You don't see that much. That much running and a touchdown. So that was just an all-around, just a solid offensive effort from Ole Miss against a
Agreed.
fairly good South Carolina defense. They're really not bad. All right, next up we got Vandy at Texas. Texas kind of survived at the end. Almost couldn't cover that onside kick, but they get the win 34-31. Arch Manning probably had his best game of the year, 26 of 33, 328, 3 touchdowns. Pavia, even though he went 27 of 38 for 365, all that was in the fourth quarter when they were down. Scott, what'd you see in this game?
Boy, this was a fun game to watch. Brant's hatred for Ohio State kind of links with my hatred for Texas. Maybe not as bad, but it's also hard to root for Pavia as well with his trash talk. But this game, I couldn't believe it, man. Going into this game, I had Vandy winning, and I didn't want to say easily. I mean, I kind of figured Texas would put up a fight being at home, but I was shocked. For Texas to come out, what was it, 17-0, like second quarter, first half. I know at one point it was 17-0. I couldn't get over that. I was like, what am I watching right now? Where the heck is Vanderbilt that we've been watching all year? Where are they? Well, I think Sark did his homework. I think Sark, he probably watched that Bama game. He had a little bit to watch, a little bit to study, and I feel like they definitely did their homework on Vanderbilt. And of course, there was a lot of trash yards there at the end. They put up a fight towards the end. Vanderbilt did, but Texas pretty much had this game in hand the entire 4 quarters. And yes, I think Manning had probably the best game of his career to this point. He looked good. The running backs look good. Defense looked great. Texas played. This is the best I've seen Texas play all year, and it was against Vanderbilt that I knew was going to come in swinging again. So, a little shocked at that game. That was probably the most surprising game I saw all weekend.
Yeah,
so it was good.
And the fact that Texas had 6 sacks on defense, so that kind of
right.
I mean that's where the first 3 quarters was for the Vanderbilt offense. Bo.
2 things really stand out to me, and these are lessons we learn as the season goes on. And we had all talked about this. We were all on Vanderbilt. I was on Vanderbilt. Yeah, take Vanderbilt, sprinkle the money line. And it never dawned on me. I didn't even bother to think. And this is why you got to look into these sometimes. You can't just go with, if you're just going what you saw last week is not what you're going to see this week. But Texas hadn't played a home game in a month. And home field advantage has been so big this year. I mean, I don't know what, just seems like this year it's been exceptionally big, especially with these teams that are really having to fly, travel distances. But I just feel like home field advantage has been so huge this year. And the second thing, the other takeaway in this game for me is as you watch college football, people get stuck. And what I mean by people get stuck is they see something and that's their opinion, and then they don't change their opinion as the season goes, and then they get fooled at the end of the season. So we saw Arch kind of struggle. Not kind of. We saw Arch struggle. It's amazing. You go back to week 1, they should have beat Ohio State. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. If he just hits a couple throws, they win that game. But, and then he got there in the middle of the season, and it got kind of bad. More film came out. Teams, these coordinators are smart, man. There's a reason why people watch film, and the film don't lie. It never does. And so the more film that came out on Arch, people really started kind of putting the grip on him. But he's weathered that storm. It seems as though maybe that Sark has figured out something that will work with this offense. And if their offense can do anything, I mean, I'm not saying he even has to be great. Get rid of the football, just move the sticks. Their defense is good enough. even with they have 2 losses. They're going to have to win out, and it's going to be tough because they still got a date at Georgia, and they still got a date with Texas A&M. I don't think they're winning either one of those. Suppose they do. Texas is still dangerous because they still have top-tier talent, NFL talent all over the place. Now, unfortunately for Texas, it took Sark a while to maybe figure some things out, but they went through a tough stretch. They came off a bye, and then, maybe here in the stretch they're going to be strong down the stretch, but we'll just have to see.
Well, that'll be a good question for our mob guys. Chat, let us know. What do you think about Texas? Can they win out? Who will they lose to? Do they have a shot against Georgia or an A&M? And if they do, they could wind up in the SEC championship. So give us your thoughts on Texas and Manning going forward. All right, up next, OU traveling up to Knoxville to take on the Vols as OU gets a pretty big road win, 33-27. Mateer had a so-so game, 19 of 29, 159. Aguilar had a decent game, 29-45, 363, 3-2. He got sacked quite a few times. Just looking at the stats, it's just crazy to me how UT didn't win this game. Bo, what do you think?
And especially at home, Tennessee's always, especially under Heupel, has been really good at home. But again, people kind of sold their stock on Oklahoma when they lost to Texas. But Oklahoma is still one of the top 5 to 10 defenses in the country. They still have one of the best defensive coordinators / head coaches in the country. And as long as Mateer can stay healthy and manage that offense, Oklahoma's going to be in the mix. They're too good on the defensive side of the ball to not be there. At the beginning of the season, I actually picked John Mateer to win the Heisman. Now, prior to him breaking his hand and having that procedure on his hand, he was really kind of heading that way, especially when we saw the game against Michigan. And we're like, man, they just destroyed Michigan. They went up and down the field on Michigan all game long. But if Mateer stays healthy and the offensive line stays intact, they're going to be a problem down the stretch for anybody that faces them. And I say that for, Bama still has got LSU coming off a bye after they got rid of Brian Kelly. They still have Oklahoma, and then off a bye, and then we still got to go to that cursed desert wasteland known as the Plains. But we can discuss more of that later. But I actually picked Oklahoma in the preseason to make the playoff.
The good.
Mainly because they were actually going to be able to have a functioning offense this year, unlike last year. It was just a disaster when everybody was hurt.
Right, and the good thing about Oklahoma winning this game is you get another ranked team that Alabama gets to play in 2 weeks to kind of strengthen the resume and maybe move up in the polls a little bit.
Yeah, about the cream rising to the top. So Tennessee's gone. That's another one. That's another one off the list. Although I heard somebody today, and I forget who it was talking about. They said they guaranteed there would be a 3-loss team in the playoff because of all the chaos that potentially could still happen, and all the teams, all the matchups that still have to be played.
Yeah,
coming down the stretch, and their number one argument was about strength of schedule. That if you take a 3-loss team that has a strength of schedule like in the 20s, would potentially be better than a 2-loss team with a strength of schedule in the 60s or 70s or whatever. But it will definitely be interesting.
Yeah, Scott, what'd you see on this game?
I think I read somewhere that Tennessee had the 14th hardest schedule. I have to check my accuracy on that, but I think I saw that yesterday. Yeah, I was on top of this game from start to finish. Let me tell you something. And Bo said something earlier about elite quarterbacks in the SEC. This was 2 of them right here. Mateer, he's great, man. This guy, when you watch, I love watching him in the huddle. I love watching him talk to his teammates. This guy is a leader. This guy, the way he leads those guys out on that field, man, he is a general. I absolutely love watching him play. Love it. And I'll say the same thing. It's a little different with Joey Aguilar, but he is really good at what he does. I think sometimes maybe he overthinks. He has those moments where he's overthinking the play. Those where it's usually where the turnover happens. He's trying to force something or he's overthinking the situation. He does do that a little bit, but overall, these are two of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, all of college football. It was fun watching this game. I really enjoyed it. Two great defenses. You know, I was battling back and forth. You know, obviously, my hatred for Tennessee rises higher than Texas, but so I was refusing to pull for them ever. But I did like the black uniforms. I did. I liked it. I thought that went well.
Nice touch on Halloween.
It was
Yeah.
the black and orange. Like that was good. I liked it. I couldn't trash their uniforms. That was hard for me, but I mean, but no.
So
overall, the game, man, that game was probably. Oh man, I keep saying this about every game, but man, aren't these games just exciting to watch this year? With everything going on, man, I don't remember the last time we went through a college season, and I'm like, man, and you never know what's going to happen with coaching staffs. You know, you wake up the next morning, somebody's fired. We'll talk about that later. But I mean, you know, this is the most exciting college football season I can remember. I mean,
Scott, Scott, would you like to know why?
Why?
Well, I've actually already said it tonight. That the elite quarterback play, especially of these quarterbacks in the SEC. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some other ones out there that can really sling it and really make plays. I mean, the Jennings kid at SMU, he's played at a high level. I mean, he got them in the playoff last year. You look at what Mendoza doesn't throw it a ton because they just run the ball, but when he needs to make throws, he always seems to find a way to do it. Julian Sayin at Ohio State. And I mean, it's not just in the SEC. I mean, but there are a bunch of them. Last year, or actually, really the last 2 years, you've seen some very, very average quarterback play in the SEC. This year, though, there's at least 10 quarterbacks that will play in the NFL in the SEC right now, maybe 12.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about two of the lower tier teams. Mississippi State, Arkansas, I did watch that one. And those two quarterbacks, both of them will play in the NFL. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be the next Pat Mahomes, but they're going to get a shot to make a roster somewhere.
Yeah, and also, like, with the games, how many weekends in a row have these SEC games on ABC? All three of them, morning, afternoon, and night. All three of those games have been, like, extremely, like, good games that you want to watch till the fourth quarter.
Yes.
And it's been like this for probably the last
month
and a half.
Guys, I'm just telling you that the quarterback play is where it's at. I mean, the quarterback play covers up a multitude of sins. When you have high-level quarterback play, there's so many things that you can be bad at and get away with.
Yeah.
But when you got guys that can spin it like that, I mean, you're talking about LSU's 5-3 and already fired their coach, and they have a quarterback. Nussmeier hadn't been healthy all year. We all know that, but they have a quarterback right now that was projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And I don't think, his draft stock may fall a little bit, but it's not going to fall that much because I think people are aware of the situation. I mean, he was, in my opinion, going in, he was the best quarterback in the conference coming back at throwing the ball down the field and throwing the ball down the field with accuracy. But, you know, you're talking about him. His team's already out of it, and his coach is fired, and he's probably a first-round talent.
Probably so.
Saints
right,
first round
on.
hurt.
Yeah. Nope. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, we'll probably definitely be picking first. There's no doubt.
All right. Well, speaking of some hogs and dogs, we had the Mississippi State-Arkansas game, 38-35. State finally getting their first conference win. They actually flipped the script from last week. They outscored the Hogs 17-7 in the fourth quarter. It was a much desperate win for Mississippi State and their fans. I mean, Brandon Walker was a mess after that game last week, if you know who he is.
Oh, absolutely. That was great.
Yeah.
I mean, not great in the sense that I know what that feels like living through the Mike's era.
Yeah.
But I also understand that joy, that relief, or that pain and that agony when you're so close and it just doesn't hit.
Yeah. So what was your take on this one, Bo? Did you flip over there for that one?
Well, I actually got to watch that when we were on our way back from the South Alabama game.
Yeah.
and I actually found a feed on YouTube, and Mississippi State. You look at their schedule. You know, they blow a 17-point lead at home to Texas. They blow a lead late. They lose by 7 to Tennessee in overtime. All of these games have been, the only time that that they actually got handled this year was against A&M, which is reasonable. There was again, shocker in the SEC, a controversial call on a field goal against Florida.
You don't say.
Yeah. And finally they've come through. And I think Jeff Levy is showing you, again, you got high-level coaching, high-level quarterback play, and, I mean, they're definitely not the most talented roster in the league. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination. But every game they've played, they've been. I mean, they had a big win against Arizona State earlier in the season.
Yeah.
You know, they find a way to come back and beat Arkansas and say, well, Arkansas is terrible. Well, I mean, my goodness, you know, last year's team would have lost. Mississippi State would have lost this game. But again, going back to what I was saying, the two quarterbacks in this game, my goodness, the kid at Arkansas, Jalen Green, my goodness. I mean, that kid, his stats were off the charts. I mean, I was looking, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he had already thrown for 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. And he's playing on a team that's dead in the water going nowhere. I mean, he can flat play. And by the way, Bobby Petrino's not getting that job. It hadn't materialized like I thought. The Auburn game, I mean, the Auburn game, I think, is what sealed it. But their last 4 possessions against Auburn, it was like pick, punt, pick.
Yeah.
Or punt, or it was pick, downs, pick, something like that. But they turned the ball over 4 straight times in the game. And that's why Auburn scored the 33 points. It was inflated because they had 4 turnovers in a row in the fourth quarter. But that search for Arkansas, they've got to be able to pony up and spend a little bit more money. I think I read a couple weeks ago that some of the lowest spending for NIL in the entire conference.
Yeah,
so,
they got Walmart money, so that's not.
Yeah, you would think they would have more, but you know, those two teams, I will tell you this, for 2 teams that are going, I mean, well, Mississippi State's still got a chance to make a bowl game. It's going to be tough for them. They're going to have to at least go 2-2 in their last 4, and one of those is against Ole Miss, and I forget who the other one was against, but I was like, man, they better hope they mess around and win the other 2, because they're probably not going to win the 2 tougher games, but But again, to see 2 teams dead in the water fight that hard, and it was a really good game. And but good job Bulldogs.
All right, Scott, what'd you see?
I didn't have too much on this one, guys. I'll be honest. I just know State for what they are. They play with heart. When I have watched them this year, they don't lay down for anybody. You know, do I expect them to win any week? No, but they always give it their all. You see a lot of fight in them, and they're not going to lay down for anybody. Arkansas, on the other hand, to me, this was the game with Bobby. With me, I'm watching this, and I said, all right, if he loses this game to State, he's definitely not getting this coaching job. We were already kind of on the way there, but I feel like this was the nail in the coffin. After they lost this game, I said, okay, yeah, he's definitely not getting this job. Definitely not happening. But that's all I really had for this game. Like I said, I mean, Arkansas is what they are. State, my heart goes out to them. Y'all know I have family at State, but they're not. I'd be surprised if they got a bowl game, but they're not. They're not gonna lay down for anybody. But getting to a bowl game with their schedule they have left, I'm not sure they can get there.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, we'll certainly see.
And also, for the record, I had the over in that game. I had Mississippi State plus the points and a money line sprinkle, and I had the Arkansas team or Mississippi State team total over. I also had Arkansas team total over, so I hit all but one. So I was riding the Bulldogs hard in that one.
Yeah, and we should give a shout out to Levy. He's gotten a lot out of that team, as y'all pointed out. I mean, some of those losses have been absolutely gut wrenching, and it does. You know, as an Alabama fan, that kind of defined the whole Mike Shula. It feels, you know, where you would have a lead against Tennessee going into the fourth quarter, then they outscored you 10-0 to win.
Right.
But, all right, on to the next one, the main event. We'll take care of the Kentucky-Auburn game. Kentucky somehow goes into Jordan-Hare, gets a 10-3 win over Auburn, and there's really not much offense either way to talk about. Auburn's quarterbacks combined went like 15 of 31 for like 123 yards. Scott, we'll start with you on this one.
Boy, I had that game on. I was watching that one and the Oklahoma and Tennessee game at the same time, and I tell you what, man, that game was gut. Like, I'm shocked. I guess I shouldn't be maybe, but I mean, good Lord, dude, you were at home and you scored a field goal against arguably the worst team in the conference. A field goal at home against arguably the worst team in the conference. Like, yeah, he's gone. He's gone. Like, you're not staying. Like, there's no way. I was praying and hoping they keep him. I didn't want him to leave Auburn until we beat him again. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted him to be there in the Iron Bowl. Not getting that. But that game was awful. I mean, Kentucky, I'm surprised he's still there too today, because I mean, I know they won the game and it was a road game. If my memory serves me correct, that was their first conference win since September of last year. Is that right? Pretty sure that's right.
Yeah,
that's over a year ago. Yeah, over a year ago, right?
Yeah, they beat Ole Miss early in the season last year.
Yeah, I mean, so say what you want about Stoops, but I mean, I don't know. He should have been gone this morning too. I'm just going to throw that out there. But we knew going into this game, whoever lost this game was not going to have a coach the next morning. So yeah, Freeze is gone. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more on that in a second. But that game was just awful to watch, man. I couldn't. I'm glad the Oklahoma Tennessee game was on, because that game would have put me to sleep. If that had been the only game on at the time, I'd have been out by halftime. I'd have been snoring.
Oh yeah. And the thing about the 3 points that Auburn got, it wasn't because of the offense. It was because they had a pick on defense that gave them good field position, and they got just enough to get the field goal. So, Bo, what's your take?
You know, going in, I felt like it was a throwback to the 80s, back in the old NWA, AWA, wrestling associations, and they would do these things called loser leave town match. So they would wrestle, and the loser would have to leave town. And obviously, it was one of two things: either they were just going to another organization, or they would come back as a masked villain, and they would play the guessing game of who it was. So I felt like this was a loser leave town match. And after I watched that game, I thought both of them should have been put in exile. But that game was horrible. And again, you have terrible quarterback play. Neither offense could sustain anything. I mean, it's the worst SEC game I've seen this year, period. I mean, because we've seen games where, where these two teams have been apart. I mean, like for example, the Tennessee-Kentucky game last week. I mean, that was a 7-point game. Both teams were moving, scoring. And then then Tennessee took control, but I mean, there were plays being made. There was excitement in the game. There was actual offensive production. Georgia Auburn, not a ton of scoring, but man, I mean, that was still an exciting game. And I'm not even talking about the stuff with the referees and all that, but I mean, that was your typical rivalry where, and of course the timeout. But your typical rivalry where they really got after it. It was a good game. This game was awful, just awful. And I think Stoops, I think his time is worn out. And and I think he's a really good coach. He's done a really good job at one of the hardest jobs in the entire country. But there just comes a time where you just need a new voice. I mean, it happened to Gary Patterson at TCU. Gary Patterson, widely regarded as one of the better head coaches, especially one of the better defensive head coaches. And there just comes a time where you just need a change into the guard. And I just think that's where Kentucky's at. If they want to take the next step, and my first name in the hat there is John Sumrall. I know a lot of people are linking him to Auburn, but Sumrall, he's from Huntsville. He played linebacker at Kentucky. He was a recruiting coordinator at Kentucky before he left and took the head job at Troy. The guy can coach. He knows the area. He knows the university well. I would think that he would be a top candidate for that job. But again, that's a hard job. That's a very hard job.
and probably the play of the game. That's like the moment of the game. I don't think none of us even said it. Auburn gets a pick with like 3 minutes to go. They're running it back and they fumble it at the 50. And Kentucky gets it right back. So I mean, it's been that kind of year.
Yeah, they made a play and then still messed it up.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Saints at some certain point. Well, I just got a bulletin. No. Fresh off the press, Hugh Freeze has been fired. Auburn did his buyout, like $16 million, I believe it was. Scott, were you surprised? I would think not.
Again, and I'll kind of reiterate what I said about Brian Kelly. Like, it's not that he got fired. We knew that was going to happen. It was just a matter of when, right?
When.
But if we've learned anything in 2025 is we're not waiting to the end of the season anymore. When they're done with you, they're done with you. You know, once they've got their mind made up that you're not going to be the coach here anymore, you're gone at that moment. They're not waiting for you to get through the season and figure it out in the off season. They're not doing that anymore, man. These buyouts, I read this here. Listen to this. Auburn has paid a total now of their last 3 coaches $52 million in buyouts. Over the last 3 coaches, $52 million for the last 3 coaches. They don't. The buyout thing is no longer a safety net. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to stick around. You know what I mean? They're getting rid of you, man. I know the universities make money, but I'm like, and now you got booster help, so they're done with you. They're done. Once they have made up their mind, you're not going to be here. You are out. There is no more waiting. And this is another thing that makes college football that much more exciting. You don't know what you're going to see when you wake up in the morning after Saturday on Sunday mornings. It's insane. You're not even waiting to Monday, dude. You're doing this on Sunday. You're not even waiting until Monday. Like, literally, like, you're doing this the next morning. When they leave the game that night, man, it's over. It's over.
Mind is already
You're done.
made up.
Yeah. Before you got to the locker room after the game, and again, it was the same thing as Brian Kelly. Auburn fans are up there yelling, "Fire Freeze, or Fire Hugh," whatever they were yelling, and I'm like, oh boy, will this happen on Sunday, or they're gonna wait till Monday? Oh no, it was a Sunday thing, just like Brian Kelly. I mean, there's no more waiting around. It's what makes it exciting. I love this. This is good. This is good stuff.
Well, I have a theory on that too. Why they do it right then and they don't wait to the end of the season. And I did not know this until a couple of weeks ago when they were talking about firing coaches, this, that, and the other. First off, let me say I rarely advocate for a coach to be fired. I mean, as a former coach myself, I know what these guys go. I mean, on obviously a much, much smaller level, I know what these guys go through. I know what they sacrifice. I know what they put into it. So it gives me no joy to announce a coach firing unless his name is Urban Meyer. But one of the theories I have on, or Lincoln Riley. One of the theories I have on this is that once the coach has been fired, the portal opens for those players to transfer for 30 days. I would imagine, and then they could go redshirt. Now they can't participate with those teams, but I would imagine it would be so much more difficult to transfer during the season as opposed to at the season's end or when everybody's in their bowl games and doing their thing. Because, now the portal's only going to be, there's going to be one portal opening from January the 2nd to the 19th, I think is what it is. And that's it. I mean, unless, of course, your coach gets fired. So I just think it's harder to lose more players if you do it mid-season rather than fire at the end of the season. And they're saying, okay, yeah, we're going to fork out some cash, but we're going to be able to keep more players here. And then they're not going to be able to leave, or we can get somebody in to get with them that's going to keep them here.
Yeah,
I think that might have something to do with it. I can't confirm that, but I was just thinking about that the other day. That it just kind of seems like that might play a factor into it.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, I don't know if anybody saw his press conference, but he kind of had the nerve to ask for patience. He says, I would like to have some patience, but I know I won't get any. And it's like, dude, you've been there 2.5 years. Well, I mean, what
Yeah,
else do you want? And some Auburn fans they didn't take that too kindly.
Well, I remember
it's on you, Coach.
I caught a lot of hell over the summer with Auburn fans because, I was making a big deal out of him playing golf, on recruiting weeks. I mean, I got attacked. The Auburn fans were coming at me, like, oh, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Y'all are making a mountain out of a molehill. And I'm like, I'd be concerned if I was an Auburn fan, if my head coach was out playing golf on certain weekends of the summer that are super duper recruiting weekends. We all know what weekends those are if you pay attention. And he's out on a golf course. Like, the writing was on the wall then. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, Brian Kelly was on beaches.
Yeah, and
I mean, and
neither
one
Brian
of them
Kelly
have jobs
was doing
today.
the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, Brian Kelly was doing
of-
the same thing. Here's the thing. If you're gonna flat go Steve Spurrier, and you're gonna be the old ball coach, and you're gonna behave that way, you better win. If you don't, I mean, people can tolerate almost anything if you win, but if you're gonna do that and you're gonna lose, you're gonna be gone quick. I mean, and what we have seen in the past, some of the stuff that coaches have done and gotten fired for and gotten rehired for. I mean, some of the stuff is unbelievable what the coaches have been fired for, but it wasn't for losing, so they got jobs elsewhere. But if you lose, oh yeah, you're getting fired, and you're probably not getting another job. If you do, you're going to end up like Mike DeBose coaching at Luverne High School.
Yeah, Luverne,
Right.
He's a legend there.
Yeah,
It's clapping.
yeah. I drove through there on my way home from the Troy game. I blinked twice and we were
Missed
right
it.
through there. Yep.
Well, how about all our Auburn friends in the mob? Let us know your thoughts on Hugh Freeze getting canned. Let us know who you think they should get. Yeah, I've heard a lot of them being DJ Durkin. They want. If you think it's somebody else, let us know. Let us know our takes on this. We may be slightly biased. We like Alabama. Personally, I think all three of us wish they'd have got a lifetime contract. But, Auburn did what they had to do, and they needed to. They needed to, because I know that fan base gets really rowdy, and that crowd Saturday night for a throwaway SEC game was electric for a 4-4 team, and that says a lot about the students and the fan base. So,
yeah.
They definitely deserve better than Hugh Freeze from an Auburn standpoint. Alabama standpoint, should have kept them. Well, guys, that will do it on this edition of the 4th and 31 podcast. Catch us next week or this Thursday. We usually do Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday podcast. Check us out on YouTube for the boss, for Coach Bo, and for the Chad Bullock. We will see you next time, guys. Have a good weekend.
Peace. See ya.